Oh.
Alright, my turn. What's the first order an Alliance commander gives at the start of combat?
I give up.
Correct.
Alright, big guy. What do you call it when a Turian gets killed by a horrible spiky monster?
Friendly fire. Come on, that one goes back to Shang-Chi.
You gotta respect the classics.
How many humans does it take to activate a dormant mass relay?
602. 600 to vote on it, 1 to ask the Asari for technical help, and 1 to request a seat on the council afterward. How do you know when a Turian's out of ammo?
He switches to the stick up his ass as a backup weapon. Why does the Alliance hire pilots with brittle bone disease?
Hey, that's personal.
You're shitting me. The Turian military has one about me?
Oh, absolutely. I heard it myself from a private back on Palaven.
Alright, why does the Alliance hire pilots with brittle bone disease?
So their Marines can beat someone in hand-to-hand drills.
Damn, you need to tell James that one. Hey, what's the hardest part about treating a Turian who took a rocket to one side of his face?
Figuring out which side took the rocket.
Ooh. Self-burn that time, Garrus. Quite the series of quips there from both of them. Let's see, what are they up to if we talk more directly to them?
Never thought I'd see the Krogan and the Turians team up. Even the Reapers have to be a little nervous about pissing them off.
I'd say more than a little.
Oh. Garrus is
I'm sorry about
feeling a little more optimistic, but we did lose Morden.
He was a good man.
Yeah, he was always running those tests. And one time he tagged me in the middle of the night to ask how many livers humans had. And this bump on my elbow? He said it was just a mild bone deformation, but I'm pretty sure he stuck a probe in there.
Glad it was just your elbow.
I always thought he was crazy. Useful, but crazy. Then he gives up his own life.
To save the Krogan. Doesn't do much to disprove the crazy theory, huh?
I guess not. But he was one of ours.
So now that we got the Krogan and the Turians, what now?
The Krogan help us turn the tide on Palaven. They can shoot at something useful for a change.
Dig till we hit daylight, huh? Works for me.
So how does it feel knowing Krogan will be singing songs about you until the end of time? I think it would be an honor.
I mean, I think it should be a good thing as long as the Krogan don't get carried away and start trying to take over the rest of the galaxy, including places that are the homes of humans, Turians, Asari, Solarians, so on and so forth, and start another Krogan rebellion.
There's enough misery in this universe. It's nice to see something go right for a change.
Can't say I've ever really witnessed history in the making like this. Well, except for Sovereign attacking the Citadel, and then there was the Collector base, but this
that's
one
different.
felt good. And let's hope Rex keeps running the show on Tuchanka. Maybe we should hire a food taster for him. Imagine the carnage if someone like that brother of his, Reeve, took over.
It could happen.
I know, it's a chance we have to take, but I have to say, if it wasn't my own world that needed the help, I might have taken that Solarian deal.
Phew, Garrus. No. We did not even consider it.
I could never bring myself to do that, no matter what I was offered.
I admire your restraint, Shepard. It's nice when we can save the galaxy without destroying another race along the way.
Let's hope our luck holds.
Let's hope. Get a little bit of reputation and definitely some insights from two of our teammates there. And, well, as you can probably imagine, given how we very much were presented the option to sabotage the cure, there are several different ways that you can approach that big mission on Tuchanka, and we took the perhaps most straightforward route, just trying to legitimately cure the genophage. But if you're feeling a little more devious, then there might be reason to go a different route. And I mean, we could still see perhaps Garrus and Joker have other things to say. Other thing, they were insisting on Morden being crazy, but I think, if anything, there's a very logical conclusion to that he came to was, hey, I helped to continue the genophage by upgrading it before, and in doing so, confirmed that the Krogan would be doomed to a life, or to an existence that was going to be quite limited, in that they basically would never be able to reproduce enough to have a sustainable population. And then, so either he had the choice of saying, okay, I stand by my decision, and I'm gonna have to live with that for the rest of my life, that I have in some ways, not single-handedly, but played a very direct part in basically wiping out an entire species, genocide. Or he could have decided, maybe that wasn't the right decision after all. And if so, in what was his old age, remember, Solarians do not live very long, and Morden had told us that he's already getting up there by Solarian standards. Perhaps before he ran out of time, it was best for him if he found a way to make up for what he had done before and make it back, or make up for what he had done to the Krogan. And so, I mean, what better way to do that than by undoing the upgrade to the genophage that he had created and during the genophage altogether. So in that way, a very logical thing for Morden to have done. Obviously, the sacrifice that he made, that's a whole different story, but that, at the end of the day, when it came down to it, he was willing to do it, no matter the cost, and that you've got to respect. So, for that reason, I do take some issue with them just saying, oh, Morden, he was crazy, what was he thinking, that was insane. Like, no, it made a lot of sense, and it obviously was incredibly brave to go up to a collapsing building and the 100th floor of that building when you didn't even know if you'd have enough time to do the thing that you set out to do. I mean, imagine if you tried to go up there and distribute the cure and just didn't have enough time, and building collapses and he isn't done yet, and so he fails and also dies, and well, what good was that effort then? That would have been terrible. But anyways, let's see if Joker and or Garrus have anything else to say.
Commander?
I wonder where all the Krogan will live now. I've never seen what you'd call a house on Tuchanka.
He raises a good point.
I wonder where all the Krogan will live now.
We didn't really see any when we were on Tuchanka, either in Mass Effect 2 or in Mass Effect 3. Now that you mention it, that is correct.
Commander, Admiral Hackett has requested your help with a Cerberus fighter base on Novaria.
Oh, okay. So we've seen before, the trainer has at times given us updates about specific places where Cerberus is causing some trouble, and it seems like this might be one of those times again. But we also have some additional messages here, including an alert from the Alliance News Network on Reaper. So, Theros. A group of colonies on Theros have mounted a defensive against arriving Reaper forces, holding them back long enough for civilians from nearby colonies to escape. The informal militia from Zoo's Hope, that rings a bell. Of course, that is the place where we went in Mass Effect 1. Theros, Zoo's Hope was the colony, and the colonists were the ones that were, well, kind of sort of possessed by a mind-controlling plant. But we resolved that. And managed to rescue the colony, keep it up and running, and, there was some question as to whether it might just collapse in response to the craziness that had ensued there. But said to be survivors of a savage Geth attack several years ago, that is part of what happened, has repelled initial Reapers' landing attempts with a level of wartime competence more common to seasoned platoons. The colonies are using improvised weapons, as well as supplies salvaged from a defunct exogeny facility. So somehow, Theros is fighting off, or Zoo's Hope specifically, is fighting off the Reapers, even when they are not well equipped. This colony is our home. Colony spokesperson Lisbeth Bainham said that is a name that should sound familiar because that is one of the people that we met on Theros, the scientist who sort of had the inside information that I think we originally got the scoop from, where we learned that, yeah, this is not exactly just a simple, straightforward colony that you would see on any other planet. No, there's a lot more to it than that. We've survived worse, and we know how to fight together. We've survived worse than a Reaper war. Now, that's saying something. The colony is expected to have time for full evacuation before more Reaper forces arrive. Good sign. Good sign. So, Zoo's Hope is holding down the fort. From Shiala, who is another person from the Zoo's Hope colony, dear Commander Shepard, I don't know if you've seen the articles, but the people of Zoo's Hope are fighting again. This time it's the Reapers instead of the Geth. I'm not sure if you remember me, but you helped me back in Ilium. We initially met her on Pharos, where she was the Asari that basically got consumed by the Thorian, and the Thorian, sort of, used her to communicate with us, or, well, no. Not exactly. That was someone else at the beginning of that encounter. At the end, I don't remember if Thorian was technically still alive when we communicated with her, or if it was immediately afterward. Anyways, that's beside the point. But anyways, she came from Pharos, Zoo's Hope. Then we also met her in Mass Effect 2, once again, in which she said, hey, the people of Zoo's Hope, they could use some help because there's some scientific experiments going on, and they're not exactly the most ethical that are happening to the Zoo's Hope colonists, and could use a hand from you to make sure that this stuff doesn't end up happening. So, I'm not sure if you remember me, but you helped me back on Ilium, that's the part she's referring to. The Thorian is dead now. I can confirm that. But the spores in our bodies remain, and on some level, we are still connected. This is not necessarily a bad thing. It's kind of creepy, though. As we fight back the Reapers, we feel each other and act with one mind, ignoring pain when the need arises. I'm sure I'm still indoctrinated. I remember Sovereign's voice in my mind when I went willingly to the Thorian as its thrall. But my connection is to the people of Zoo's Hope, and that's stronger. It drowns out the Reaper voices. This situation is imperfect and dangerous. Perhaps the colonists should separate, for their own safety. But with one mind, the untrained fight with the skill of a veteran commando, so our force is strong. I have not forgotten how you helped us, how you spared me. We are leaving Pharos soon, and when the time comes, we will fight with you. Giala. So yes, more from Pharos, more from Zoo's Hope, and that explains, at least in part, how, despite having very limited equipment, they've somehow found a way to fend off some of the Reapers. I mean, presumably nowhere near at the same scale as what we've seen on Palaven and Tuchanka and Earth and what have you, but at least, to some extent, able to bring the fight back to the Reapers. That is a good sign. Then General Corinthus, who was one of the Turians that we met on Mene, the moon of Palaven, the guy who we initially coordinated with before we met up with Victus. Commander Shepard, when you first arrived on Mene, I had a hard time seeing how you flying off with one of our biggest generals, or best generals, would benefit our fight against the Reapers. However, as I now watch Turian and Krogan fighters working together to take down a Reaper destroyer, I must admit, I am impressed. You brokered an alliance that many thought impossible. Because, of course, remember, although the Solarians developed the Genophage, the Turians were the ones that actually activated it, and so for that reason, the Krogan hate both the Turians and the Solarians. Palaven might be saved after all. With great respect, General Corinthus. Making babies from Rex? Shepard, making babies again will be fun. As soon as this war is over, let's just say I'll do my part to build our numbers back up. You really came through for us. I'm proud to call you my friend. Eve is in the Kelphic Valley, enlisting support from other clans and spreading the word. She's going to be a great leader. Most of the males won't like me sharing power with her, but too bad. I run the show. We're off to save the Turians now, since apparently they forgot how to hold a gun. Alright, Rex, well, we'll maybe too much detail on some of that stuff, but good to hear that you're still helping out the Turians. Then our regrettable decision from the Solarian Delatros, because remember, she was the one who had, given us that idea to sabotage the Genophage, because she was concerned that the Krogan, without the Genophage, would become extremely powerful and threaten the rest of the galaxy. And whether that was as much of a concern as the Reaper threat. That was perhaps another question. That's perhaps the primary reason why we decided not to listen to her. But Commander, I am deeply disappointed by your actions on Tuchanka. As I thought I made clear, curing the genophage will have long-term consequences. Once the Reaper threat has passed, our combined forces will be so depleted that no race in the galaxy would be capable of stopping a resurgent Krogan. I mean, yes, you have a point, but at the same time, once the Reaper threat has passed is such a huge statement. It's like, well, let's not take that for granted, okay? Moreover, the Krogan will undoubtedly seek revenge for the genophage, and the Solarian Union will be among the first targets. When the day comes, Commander, the blood of my people will be on your hands. I don't know about that. We weren't the ones that developed the genophage in the first place. There's a reason why the Krogan were mad at you to begin with. And we had nothing to do with that. I am ashamed to also learn that our scientist sacrificed his life carrying out your orders. It was his own idea, okay? We raised the point to him. We said, hey, this place it's coming down, Morton. You sure this is still the right idea? And he insisted. This is a dark day, not only for my people, but for all of galactic civilization. Maybe from your perspective, but for everyone who is not a Solarian, definitely a good day in the galaxy, and we know there are at least some Solarians, namely some STG members, who also have sided with us. Okay, so that's... Now we get the Zoo's Hope colonists after reading about their war efforts. So that's another war asset we can add to our war chest. And we did now get a new N7 Cerberus fighter base mission, which is the one that Trainer was just referring to. I'm not going to go to the Priority Citadel one just yet. Let's just ignore that for the time being. Then let us see.
Chief Engineer Adams would like to speak with you down in engineering.
Thank you, Trainer. If any of our other peoples would like to chat with us, because apparently the answer is yes. I mean, yes, we will talk to Engineer Adams, but there's probably other people who, sorry, Engineer Adams, rise higher up on our list. And we're looking at our wall here. You do see on the left side, fourth from the bottom. There's one more name on that list. Afraid there's one more name on that list that was not there before. And of course, there was a time, and this was his spot. So, I mean, I don't know if Dr. Chakos will have anything to say on that matter.
I'm glad to see we have Garrus back. I wanted to help with his scars, but I think he actually likes them.
I mean, that's good to hear, I suppose, but it's just not the thing that is at top of mind right now.
Just reviewing some charts.
Okay. And so this is where we could have assigned a bonus power. And what I was thinking of doing was assigning a bonus power before the Tuchanka mission to give us a little more survivability in case we got stomped by that Reaper. Fortunately, we were still able to make it work. Did we? We leveled up at some point there, didn't we? Because we now have 6 points, so we could get this last fitness level, which we probably will do, but maybe we'll wait that one out a little bit because it's not urgent right now when we're just hanging out on the Normandy. Edie is down here. Remember, we did not see her up on the bridge where she usually is. This is, of course, where she initially made her appearance in this form.
What are you up to now?
I am uploading data on the destroyed Reaper to the Turians. They are investigating possible Reaper structural weakness. Our data says Reaper capital ships such as Sovereign are of unique design. However, smaller Reaper destroyers bear similarities.
That one was small?
Relatively, yes. Ground attack ships are only 160 meters in height. Sovereign was approximately 2 kilometers.
Oh.
Well, keep talking to the Tyrians. If there's a chink in the Reaper's armor, we all need to know it.
Okay. That's definitely a good thing to do in that case.
Hello, Shepard.
Sounds like that's all we have from Edie. Because yes, I mean, we did destroy a relatively large Reaper. Sure, maybe not the largest possible kind of Reaper, but, I mean, technically, did we do it, or did Calros, the Thresher Maw, do it? Sure, the Thresher Maw did it, but we helped. We helped, okay? We summoned the Thresher Maw. It didn't just magically appear out of nowhere. So if we can learn how to take down those Reapers based on what Calros did, then sounds like a plan.
Any sign of life?
The Reaper destroyed by the Thresher Maw appears to be completely inert, Doctor. We would need to send in teams to be sure.
Out of the question. Tell the Krogan to stay away.
Huh. And by teams, presumably Glyph is referring to Shadowbroker's teams, right? So, okay, let's see. Do we have anything new at our terminal here? We do, actually. We can either go intel from Battle of Arcturus. Telemetry captured from Arcturus Station shows just how quickly Reapers poured in from the relay and tore through Alliance fleets. BIs can analyze hostile fire in the data collected to increase weapon damage. They also can spend processing power looking for ways to improve shielding against Reaper weapons. Ooh, well that sounds interesting. We also have advanced biotic implants. This advanced amp is a sophisticated biofeedback system that interfaces with a set of armor's microcomputers. The amp can be set to help streamline the use of biotic skills and combat powers, or increase their damage instead. It sounds like that's recharge speed or that's damage. I mean, either way, both those things, of course, sound useful to us. For the weapon damage versus armor, versus shields, I don't remember if this little bonus here applies to our teammates or if it only applies to us. Because if it's only applying to us, then we very rarely fire our weapon, because we are pretty much spamming those biotics as much as we possibly can. Whereas shields certainly do sound intriguing, so we would definitely go the shield route if it was just for us. If it does affect our teammates as well, then you could maybe make more of a case for the weapon damage. Thinking of course, people like Garrus in particular, giving them an additional 5% damage would be very nice. But then maybe it's more straightforward here with the biotic stuff, or ours in general, I suppose. Doesn't necessarily need to be biotics, even though the description here implies that it's biotics. It is just listed as power damage. So install bioamp to increase your skill damage, or yeah, it's 5% recharge speed. The thing is, we are in many cases already at the maximum recharge speed, so I think probably not looking to go this route. I think we are probably looking to do the damage. So that, I think, is more of a straightforward option. This, I am curious to see. I might double check what, if this counts for just Shepard or if this counts for the entire team as well. Is there anything that we could test our existing upgrades on to see? Power damage, 5% shields. We do already have 5% shields coming from something. So we could see if our teammates just have an odd amount of shields. By odd, I mean not an odd number, just a strange number of shields.
Excellent find, Commander. The information network terminal has been updated.
Thank you, Lith. I suppose we should also see what the deal is with Liara. And several new things at her broker terminal. Audio log where Grunt addresses new Arlock Company recruits. Remember, that is the group that we did the Krogan team mission on, in which we found the Rachni Queen. So, recruit. Still don't understand why they put a tank-grown freak in charge of a whole company. And I don't understand why they gave me whining piejacks for soldiers. I have more years on the battlefield than you have kills, Runt. Trying to mate with Solarian females doesn't count as fighting. No one talks to... Someone help him up. We move in an hour. Runt was not taking it from that guy. Then an email from Dr. Locke to Admiral Hackett. Security almost opened fire on the Rachni when their ships pulled up on the Crucible, Admiral. I had to invoke your name more than once before they were let on board. They're following instructions, but my god, do I have to tell you how nervous everyone on the project is to see Rachni strutting down the halls? They almost gave Professor Lau a fit. I'll let you know how our next staff meeting goes. Yeah, you know, the Rachnide's just gonna sit at the conference table, gonna give a presentation or two, make sure you give them the laser pointer. They may, in fact, in some cases, already have a laser pointer, or at least the Reaper converted versions do. You know, it may or may not be a laser sight for their ginormous cannons, so just don't worry about it. Just don't give it too much thought. Then a call between Kasumi and Professor Olason. Not sure if we know who that is. Hi, Professor. You know that one-of-a-kind, point-to-point comm server you were talking about the other day? Do you have any information on its whereabouts? I've got something better. Check your front door. But this server's locked in the server's facility. Not anymore. This will be invaluable for the Crucible. Thank you, Miss Gatto. You are the brilliant astrophysicist, Professor. I'm just a tech expert doing some odd jobs. By the way, you would not believe how many credits Cerberus leaves just lying around in the open. Oh, Kasumi. Well, putting her thievery skills to good use, it seems, so that's, I guess, a good thing. Then mass relay traffic reports. Decrease in recent relay traffic. Widow, 95% increase. I believe that is where the Citadel is, so that makes sense that there's a huge influx of people in and out of the Citadel system. Omega 2, that is where Omega is. That's Omega Station, that is. Also the Mega 2 relay that took us in to the Collector ship in Mass Effect 2. But big increase there as well, I guess, since that is, you know, a large place for people to live or try to take shelter, then makes sense that people are going there. Tasale, I don't remember what is there. Nor do I remember Sign Hand or Pelion. Heron is, well, Earth. That's the relay at the local cluster. So, unavailable because it is completely overrun. Shang-Chi Theta may also be a largely human-controlled system because the Battle of Shang-Chi was I think one of the battles between the humans and the Turians back when they were not so friendly with one another, right? And as for Liara herself...
Working on anything?
I'm helping decode some of the Crucible's designs, or trying to. Theoretical particle physics based on specialized base 12 mathematics aren't exactly my specialty.
Oh.
Javik is his usual forthcoming self. I'd trade my last 100 years to resurrect even one Prothean scientist to help us.
Yeah, it turns out we got a general. I mean, he's been helpful on the battlefield, of course, just constructing the Crucible, maybe not his strength.
The genophage cured. The Krogan have no reason to hold back now, do they?
No, hopefully we have their full-fledged support at this stage.
Rex knows what he's doing, but can he keep the Krogan in check?
And that's the question.
The start of another Krogan empire.
That is the question. And it is the one that the Solarians are particularly concerned about.
Eve's organizing the female Krogan. She reminds me of some of the more formidable matriarchs I've known.
And Eve, we've already seen, show some pretty incredible leadership skills, so she's been doing quite well as well.
The Krogan won't let themselves fall by the wayside again. Not like they did after the rebellions. We'll have to get used to them having a bigger part in the galaxy.
Playing as more than just bounty hunters and mercenaries?
I hope the Krogan live up to their ancient legacy, and for the better.
And we saw on Tuchanka there, in some areas where they had arts, elaborate architecture, and some greenery, even when it seemed like the entire planet was a complete wasteland.
Good to see you again, Shepard.
Okay, so that seems like everything from Liara and Glyph, other than, again, the potential shields or weapon damage, which would be nice, but if I remember, which I may not, because this is relatively minor, I'll try to make a point of doubling back to check if that does affect just Shepard or if it affects the entire team, because that might influence which choice we make there. And this was, is this where Ashley was hanging out once upon a time? I already forget. No, I don't think it was. It was Kasumi's spot, back in Mass Effect 2. this is where we saw Ashley before, and this was Samara's spot in Mass Effect 2. Anybody of notes hanging out in here? It doesn't seem like it. Okay, let us head back down then to engineering, in that case. Javik, how are you doing?
Commander,
You settling in, Javik?
I believe some of the crew wishes to be my friend. That is not my purpose here. Also, I find I need to wash my hands. The residue of the ship is strong.
How so?
I have been exploring. There are traces of those who lived on the Normandy before. I detected a human female. Her genetic structure was unnatural, as if artificially created.
Miranda.
Sounds like Miranda.
Yeah, he's good.
And a drill. There was illness in him.
Thane.
And the Krogan we met, who lived in these quarters. He was undergoing a metamorphosis.
You could
His
put it that way, I
memories were
guess.
Confused, not organic to his mind. There was great confusion and turmoil.
I still can't wrap my head around that. Reading information like you.
And a lot of information at that, not
For
just
my
straightforward
people,
things.
It was as natural as breathing.
Evolution's an amazing force.
Our scientists believed it was the only force in the galaxy that mattered. They called it the cosmic imperative. The strong flourished, the weak perished. The governments of your cycle seem concerned with ensuring the survival of all.
Not so much just survival of the fittest. Alright, I mean, I guess I see where you're coming from at least, but it is a little extreme.
Was this imperative just your scientist's opinion? Or did they prove something we don't know?
The universe had already proven it. They only had to look around.
And saw what exactly?
Extinction is the rule of law in the cosmos, the natural order of things. The weakest species are doomed.
But, I mean, that doesn't mean that the physically or militarily weakest species are inherently worse than the others. They may just have a different set of skills. So, take the Volus, for example. When the Reapers attack, they don't have much in the way of advanced military capabilities. I think we read previously that they have a bit of a fleet, a small fleet, but other than that, they don't have much in the way of ground forces or anything like that. It's nowhere near, say, the Turian forces, or the strength of the Turian military. And so, however, the Volus are well known to be the chief, or the best, economic facilitators in the galaxy, and so they would certainly help to make sure that supply chains are still running, to get weapons and other resources to where they need to be to facilitate running the war effort for a whole bunch of species. So if we were to, say, lose the Volus just because they aren't as strong from a direct military standpoint, then we would lose all those other benefits that they might provide to other more front-line species like the Turians, like the Krogan. So, for that reason, the weak do at times need protection, and even if it may seem like the stronger species are making sacrifices to do that, it can be worthwhile.
It's the duty of the strong to protect the weak. Otherwise, we'd have anarchy.
But those who had nothing to offer would be eliminated.
Right,
So
but
conflict should be a way of life?
do they really have nothing to offer?
Evolution demands it. The strong grow stronger by dominating the weak. It is for the greater good of all. Though I do not think your Asari approves of my beliefs.
Liara? I think she just had a different idea about what Protheans were like.
We are all a product of our time. Had I been born in this cycle, perhaps I would be the noble scholar she wishes me to be.
Maybe, though that doesn't really seem like your style.
You think you'd like that? It's a whole different line of work.
I wouldn't know. Living a life of constant war. Taking life in every battle.
I see how it could be tough to see outside the box.
It is the only box I have known. It shapes me, as stone is shaped by the one who carves it. The stone has no choice in the form it will take. You and I, Commander. War is our sculptor, and we are prisoners to its design.
Maybe not much longer. We win this, and we'll both be set free.
Alright, so a whole lot more from Javik there, a little bit of reputation in the process. So, I mean, I'm kind of curious to see if he has anything else to say.
Thank you, Commander. I have seen the death of a Reaper. It has been a long time.
Let's hope it's the first of many.
Yeah.
Yes, a difficult fight remains. I would have accepted the Solarian deal and not told the Krogan. Morality and friendship do not matter now. Your allies are simply resources to use against the Reapers.
And perhaps Javik has a point there. Trying to get the best of both worlds, if possible. Find a way to get the Solarian support by sabotaging the genophage cure and then trying to convince the Krogan, or at least just not mention to the Krogan that it wasn't actually going to work, and then getting both Solarian and Krogan support in the process? Maybe. But another reason for bringing Javik with you on that mission is because, well, he of course fought the Reapers extensively in his cycle, and now giving him the chance to do so again in a more direct role rather than just hanging out on the Normandy and actually seeing a Reaper go down in this cycle is, you know, is good for him.
If the Krogan seek retribution for the past, do not waste time on sterility plagues. Destroy them where they stand. In the meantime, they are useful cannon fodder against the Reapers. Do not care what others think. Do what you must.
And so, I mean, Javik, it does seem like he's very much a no-nonsense, do whatever it takes to get the job done, sort of like the epitome of renegade in that way. And in times like these where the Reapers are the key threat and perhaps everything else is secondary or tertiary to that, I mean, he maybe does have a point there.
Do not care what others think. Do what you must.
It's no time for petty politics.
Genophage cure, huh? This beats the hell out of reporting on the Milgram City Council.
I don't think I've heard of Milgram. Which planet is that again?
Beckenstein. It's right next door to the Citadel. I'm a colony kid.
And that's actually... Is that where we had the loyalty mission for Kasumi back in Mass Effect 2? It may have been. I think it may have been, even. But let's see if Allers has anything to chat with us about.
Commander, got a minute?
Oh.
What do you want to know?
You've just implemented a cure for the genophage. Millions of Krogan will start fighting the Reapers. What do you say to people who think humanity is starting another Rachni War and Krogan rebellions?
Ooh, and we have some charm or intimidate options here. And I think what we're looking to do here is, this is a chance for the Krogan to find a way to have a new purpose in the galaxy, where we've heard many Krogan say to us they feel lost, hopeless, nothing for them to do besides just fight for money because they know that they're a dying breed. But now with the genophage cured, perhaps they can find their redemption.
It's easy to remember the worst of Krogan history, but you also need to remember the best.
Meaning?
The Krogan were heroes once, and they want to be heroes again. We're giving them that chance.
Are you aware that Clan Urdnot is already petitioning the Council for an embassy and rights to a colony world?
You know, maybe he's getting a little bit ahead of himself, but we can negotiate that stuff when everything else is all settled.
The Krogan are coming to the aid of a Council homeworld. That's more than a lot of species can say. I helped them get the genophage cure. Anything more is between the Council and the Krogan.
There it is, straight from Commander Shepard. Until tomorrow, this is Diana Allers. Good night and stay strong. Okay, I'll cut that together with the rest of the segment and send it to Command for approval.
Good stuff. And we get some reputation in the process, and War Acid updated for Krogan clans. We perhaps, hopefully, inspire them a little bit with that message. Gave them a reason to believe. And we heard Trainer say that Engineer Adams wanted to talk with her a bit.
And you're barking up the wrong tree, Kenneth. You're not her type.
Oh. Well, perhaps you should go and talk to her then.
Maybe I should. Nobody's barking up my tree.
If it works out, be sure to take video.
Oh, Donnelly. Alright, Adams, you wanted to speak with us.
Commander, good news on the installation of that thermal pipe you got us.
It went right brilliant. Much better than we expected.
I told you it would.
It gets better. While interfacing through our ESO capacitors, our Miss Daniels here had an epiphany.
I wouldn't go that far.
She and Donnelly deduced some theoretical improvements to our capacitor design. Edie and I ran with it and documented our conclusions. Our core is too compact to apply our theories, but it could help the Crucible engineers. Give the word and I'll send the plans their way.
Do it.
Aye, aye.
Oh.
Well done, everyone.
Some insights to help with the Crucible efforts, sure. So there's the actual conclusion to that mission where we purchased the item from the Citadel and gave it to Engineer Adams over here. It takes a little while for them to test it out and then actually succeed in doing it, and so that's why we didn't actually get the end result until just now. But we get the experience, and we also get that war asset update. So that's good stuff. Out of curiosity, that means that we still have a ways to go before we hit our next level. Okay, but let us head down to the shuttle bay as well and see if we can track down James and also Cortez.
Can't believe Cerberus would open fire on civilians like that. As twisted and insane as his logic might be, I thought the elusive man was trying to save humanity. I guess he's willing to sacrifice anyone to win.
Maybe. Also, Cortez, you might want to look at where you're using that Omni-tool welding thing, because it really looked like you were welding your face. It's on several occasions. On several occasions there. So, you know, general rule of thumb, don't do that. Okay, then James is still hanging out over here.
You think that cure they dispersed could do anything to us? We're not going to start growing scales or anything, right?
I mean, he has a point. Did we test it on humans to at least see if there were any side effects to us?
Maybe now that we have the Krogan on board, we can go back to fighting the Reapers.
Rather than, what, playing politics?
I was looking at the specs on that Reaper you took out on Tachanka. That was one of the small ones? Don't get me wrong, it's still dead, but damn. There was nothing small about it.
Yeah, you see, it tried to crush us on several occasions. So if that's a small one, then you can only imagine what would happen if one of the bigger ones tried to step on us.
Hey.
Okay, so that appears to be all from James. Oh, and I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but a little while back I did in fact go and watch the Paragon Lost, which is the little movie of James' backstory, basically. And it's quite interesting. In many ways, I mean, I won't go into a whole bunch of detail to avoid spoiling it for people who have not yet seen it, but yes, Paragon Lost is the name. It is an animated movie of sorts. I think it's pretty much maybe ever so slightly shorter than a full-length movie, but James is the main character, and we get to see his background a bit, how he got to be in the role that he currently is in, and some ideas as to what has shaped him as a character. And I think that just helps contextualize a lot more about what does and does not make James tick here. And so, especially for a character that I think does get some flack from the Mass Effect community, I think having something like Paragon Lost in the back of your mind as you're playing Mass Effect 3 is a good way to just give his character a little bit more depth, where it might otherwise feel as if he just doesn't quite have that same level of detail to the things that we learn about him as we might learn from other characters.